Dopamine detox doesn't fail because it doesn't work. It fails because people fundamentally misunderstand how the brain actually changes. Around 90% of people who start a dopamine detox quit within just a few days, and if you've ever tried it yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You start with this intense motivation. You feel like this is finally going to be the moment where everything clicks, where you take back control of your attention, your focus, your discipline. The first day feels powerful. The second day feels like a challenge you're ready to face. And then by day 3 or 4, something breaks. You find yourself back on your phone, back in the same habits, back in the same mental fog you were trying to escape. And here's what most people think when that happens. They think they're weak. They think they don't have enough willpower. They think they're just not disciplined enough to pull this off. But that's not what's happening. The reason dopamine detox fails for the majority of people has nothing to do with weakness, nothing to do with lack of discipline, and everything to do with the fact that they're attacking the wrong level of the brain. In this video, I'm going to show you the real reason most people fail at dopamine detox, and more importantly, how to avoid becoming part of that 90%. If you want discipline and focus to become automatic instead of something you constantly fight against, I've linked a subconscious-based system in the description that works at a deeper level than motivation ever could. But first, let's talk about why dopamine detox became so popular in the first place. Act 1. Why dopamine detox is so attractive. The reason dopamine detox has exploded in popularity is because it promises something everyone desperately wants: control. We live in a world that's engineered to steal your attention every single second of the day. Social media, video games, streaming platforms, endless content feeds, all of it is designed by billion-dollar companies with one goal, which is to keep you engaged, keep you scrolling, keep you consuming. And somewhere along the way, you realize you've lost control. You can't focus on the things that actually matter. You can't sit still without reaching for your phone. You can't work on your goals without getting distracted every 5 minutes. Dopamine detox promises to fix all of that. It promises to give you back your clarity, your motivation, your mental freedom. The concept is simple, and that's part of why it's so appealing. You remove the overstimulating activities from your life. You cut out the distractions. You reset your dopamine receptors. And in theory, you come back stronger, more focused, more disciplined. It sounds perfect, and for a lot of people, the first couple of days actually feel incredible. You feel like you're finally taking your life back, like you're in control again. But then something happens. The motivation fades, the discipline cracks, and before you know it, you're back where you started, except now you feel worse because you tried and failed. And here's the problem. Dopamine detox is being sold as a quick fix, as a simple challenge you can complete and move on from, but that's not how the brain works. Most people don't fail dopamine detox because the concept is flawed. They fail because they're approaching it with a fundamental misunderstanding of what actually needs to change. And if you don't understand that, you're going to keep trying and keep failing over and over again. Act 2. The false reasons for failure. So let's talk about the reasons people think they're failing, because these are the excuses that keep you stuck in the cycle. The first one is probably the most common. I'm just not disciplined enough. You convince yourself that if you were stronger, if you had more willpower, if you were just better at controlling yourself, then dopamine detox would work. But here's the truth. Discipline is a limited resource. It's not a permanent state of being. You can force yourself to do something difficult for a short period of time. But if you're relying purely on willpower to sustain a behavior, you're going to run out of fuel eventually. Discipline might get you through day 1 and day 2, but it's not what keeps you consistent long term. The second excuse people make is my environment is too stimulating. And look, there's some truth to this. If your phone is next to you all day, if your computer is constantly pinging you with notifications, if you're surrounded by distractions, then yeah, it's going to be harder. But here's the thing. There are people in the exact same environment as you who manage to stay focused, who manage to build discipline, who manage to control their attention. So the environment is part of the equation, but it's not the full answer. The third excuse is, I need a stronger detox. People think that if they just go harder, if they cut out more things, if they make the detox more extreme, then it'll finally work. But that's backwards. Going more extreme doesn't fix the underlying problem, it just makes the rebound worse. You deprive yourself so intensely that your brain eventually snaps back in the opposite direction, and you end up binging harder than you did before. And then there's the fourth excuse, which is probably the most dangerous one. I'll try again later. This is procrastination disguised as strategy. You tell yourself that now isn't the right time, that you'll be more ready next week, next month, when things calm down, when you're in a better mental state. But the reality is, there's never going to be a perfect moment, and every time you delay, you're reinforcing the belief that you can't do it. None of these are the real reason dopamine detox fails. The real reason is much deeper, and it's something most people never even consider. Act 3. The real reason why 90% fail. Here's what's actually happening. Your conscious mind is not in control. You think you're making decisions, you think you're choosing to scroll on your phone, or watch another video, or procrastinate on your work, but the truth is, most of your behavior is automatic. Most of your decisions are being made by your subconscious mind, the part of your brain that operates below your awareness, that's running on autopilot based on habits, patterns, and conditioning that have been built up over years. And this is where dopamine detox fails for 90% of people, because they're trying to fix the problem at the conscious level. They're setting rules, creating restrictions, relying on willpower and discipline, all of which are conscious strategies. But the real problem isn't at the conscious level, it's at the subconscious level. Your subconscious mind is what decides whether you reach for your phone when you're bored, whether you click on that notification, whether you give in to the urge to distract yourself. And here's the thing about the subconscious. It doesn't care about your goals, it doesn't care about your discipline, it cares about keeping you safe and comfortable. Change feels dangerous to the subconscious because change means uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers a stress response. So when you try to force a dopamine detox using willpower alone, your subconscious interprets that as a threat, and it fights back. It creates cravings, it manufactures excuses, it sabotages your progress, all in an effort to bring you back to what feels familiar and safe. And this is why you can know exactly what you need to do. You can have all the information, all the strategies, all the motivation, and still find yourself doing the exact opposite. It's not because you're weak, it's because your subconscious is running a program that's stronger than your conscious willpower. You don't fail dopamine detox consciously, you fail it subconsciously. And if you don't address that level, if you don't reprogram the subconscious patterns that are driving your behavior, then no amount of willpower or discipline is going to create lasting change. You'll keep trying, you'll keep failing, and you'll keep wondering why it's so hard when it seems so simple. This is the part most people never understand, and it's exactly why the 90% stay stuck. Act 4. What the successful 10% do. So what about the 10% who actually succeed? What are they doing differently? The answer is simple. They're not fighting against their urges, they're reprogramming them. They understand that lasting change doesn't come from restriction, it comes from transformation at the subconscious level. Instead of trying to force themselves to avoid distractions through sheer willpower, they're changing the automatic responses that create those distractions in the first place. They're working on their identity, not just their behavior. Because here's the thing. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, if you see yourself as someone who's easily distracted, if you see yourself as someone who can't resist temptation, then no amount of external rules is going to change that. Your actions will always align with your identity, and your identity is stored in the subconscious. The 10% who succeed are building a new identity. They're becoming someone who doesn't need constant stimulation, someone who finds fulfillment in focus, someone who's naturally disciplined because that's who they are, not because they're forcing themselves to be. And they're doing this through systems, not through motivation. They understand that motivation is temporary, that willpower is limited, and that if you want something to last, you need to build it into your automatic behavior. They create simple routines. They structure their environment in a way that supports their goals. They repeat the right behaviors until they become unconscious habits. And most importantly, they understand one critical truth. Lasting control doesn't come from restriction. It comes from subconscious alignment. When your subconscious mind is aligned with your conscious goals, when the automatic part of your brain is working with you instead of against you, that's when change becomes effortless. That's when discipline stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like your natural state. This is exactly where most people get stuck. And if you want dopamine detox to stick without constant effort, the subconscious millionaire system below is designed to reprogram habits at the subconscious level, so you're not constantly fighting yourself every single day. Act 5. The lasting solution: reprogramming the subconscious. Let's talk about why the subconscious is so powerful and why it controls 90% of your behavior. Your subconscious mind is shaped by repetition, emotion, and belief. Every time you repeat a behavior, you're reinforcing a neural pathway in your brain. You're making the behavior more automatic, more unconscious. Every time you attach an emotion to a behavior, you're making it more memorable, more powerful. And every time you internalize a belief about yourself, whether it's "I'm disciplined" or "I'm lazy," that belief becomes a filter through which your subconscious interprets reality and guides your actions. This is why dopamine detox alone is temporary. You can force yourself to avoid distractions for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, but if you haven't changed the subconscious programming that's driving those behaviors, then eventually the old patterns are going to come back. You'll feel that pull, that urge, that automatic response. And if your subconscious hasn't been reprogrammed, you're going to give in. The fatigue sets in, the motivation fades, and you're back where you started. But here's the good news. When you work at the subconscious level, when you reprogram the automatic patterns that control your behavior, discipline becomes natural. Focus becomes your default state. The right choices stop feeling like sacrifices and start feeling like the obvious thing to do. You're not fighting yourself anymore, you're aligned. And that's the real leverage point for long-term change. It's not about forcing yourself to be different. It's about becoming different at a level so deep that the change is automatic. When your subconscious changes, control is no longer something you force. It becomes who you are. So here's what we've covered. Dopamine detox works, but only if you understand how the brain actually changes. 90% of people fail because they're trying to fix the problem at the conscious level using willpower, discipline, and restriction, when the real issue is at the subconscious level where automatic behavior is programmed. The 10% who succeed aren't fighting their urges, they're reprogramming them. They're building new identities, creating systems, and aligning their subconscious mind with their conscious goals. And that's the difference between temporary results and lasting transformation. If you don't want to be part of the 90% who quit, stop relying on willpower and start working with the subconscious. The subconscious millionaire system is linked below, and it's specifically designed to help you reprogram habits at the level where they actually stick. This isn't about motivation. This isn't about discipline. This is about transformation. And if you're serious about taking back control of your attention, your focus, and your life, that's where you need to start.